So today I'm going to be talking about The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This was Robin Hobb's first novel and the first in a trilogy called the Farseer trilogy. It was released in 1995. Yes, it is 30 years old, and obviously Robin Hobb has been very busy in that time. However, I have not read a single Robin Hobb novel in my life. So, of course, I started with The Assassin's Apprentice because it is the first novel in what I believe is a huge, expansive world that Robin Hobb has built. I do not know much about whether the lead character, Fitz, in this novel, if his journey is just these 3 novels and that's his journey done, or whether Fitz's journey is the entirety of what I think is maybe 11, 12 novels in total. So please do let me know in the comments below. Do we follow Fitz all the way through? Because that determines, just so you know, right off the bat, that determines whether I will read another book. So yeah, do we follow Fitz throughout all of these 12 books, or do we move on to something else after this initial trilogy? So anywho, a little bit of information about this novel. So Fitz Chivalry is a royal bastard, and he is taken into the sort of Farseer household. The royal family would rather have the bastard close by to possibly be as service and to give him somewhat of a life towards the family, protecting the family, that kind of thing. So yeah, rather than just casting him aside, he is brought into the fold. We start with Fitz at around 6 years old, and I believe, I don't know, I couldn't figure it out from reading the novel, but I think he's about 18 when we finish. He might be a bit younger, but we're definitely childhood, adolescence, teens, late teens. I think that's sort of where we end up. And we spend our time with him as he's trained in kind of like courtcraft, figuring out the politics around him, the family members, who's to trust, who's not to trust. But then he is also sort of being trained up by 2 different sort of male figures in his life. One is how to be an assassin and to sort of help out the royal family in that way by taking care of people when he needs to. And another is being trained in this sort of element that's called the skill. Quick correction, I've lied to you there. So there's sort of like 3 male figures in his life, and 2 are kind of like fatherly figures. So there is, what's his name? Is it Burek? I think it's Burek. He's like the stable master. He's quite strict and very protective of Fitz. And then there's the guy, what's his name? Shade? I think it's Shade, who is the assassin apprentice guy. The person who teaches him the skill is a right prick, and he just has it out for Fitz from the start. So yeah, sorry about that. So the 2 male figures are definitely the one who's the stable master and definitely the one who teaches him to be an assassin. The person who teaches him the skill is not really a fatherly figure to him. Fitz also has this ability which is called the wit, which certain people have in this world. It's sort of a dying art and considered, it's not good to have it. You're looked down upon if you do, but the wit enables Fitz to be able to communicate with animals. And throughout the novel, he is making these sort of strong bonds with different animals that sort of come and go in his life. Overall, I would say this is a coming-of-age novel framed within a kind of royal politics, with a mix of kind of like apprenticeship, assassination, and some sort of fantasy elements in there as well. Right, let's jump over to some of the themage. So we're looking at identity and belonging. We have loyalty versus agency. We're looking at the cost of violence and secrecy. We've got a healthy dollop of otherness. And finally, I'd say we are looking at trauma and kind of the long-term damage that trauma does to a person. Now, it's normally at this point that I would go into the characters, or at least the key players within this novel. However, I can't be bothered. I'm not a proper reviewer, everybody. I'm just some bloke with a camera who waffles every now and again. So I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it because I didn't like this novel at all. So I can't be bothered to waste the energy going through it. But basically, you have Fitz. He's our protagonist. We start for 6 years old. He has 2 types sort of like father figures who come into his life, each guiding him in different directions. There's also a couple of girls involved at some point that become a sort of potential love interest / friendship. Women aren't really written that well in this novel for my liking. And that's about it. And then you have some of the royal players like cousins and second cousins and uncles and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's about it. So, what did I like and what didn't I like? What I liked. Okay, what did I like about this novel? I've actually wrote nothing down. I really did not like this. I like that it's character driven. Like, it's a fantasy novel that's not all based on the action. It's character driven, but that's also to its detriment because it's so boring, unbelievably boring. But it is character driven. It's quite nice to be like, oh, here's a fantasy novel that's focusing on the characters. If only you cared about any of them. Anyway, I need to hold back. What did I like? No, I didn't like. I don't think there's anything I liked about this. The writing was nice. It was serviceable. It was okay. It feels very. This is going to be like an extremely weird thing to say because I don't know if I could technically look at prose and tell you exactly when that prose was written. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of writing. It kind of feels timeless. However, when reading this, I was like, it does feel quite 90s fantasy. So, does that make sense? Is there anyone out there who gets what I mean? But like, yeah, because normally, like, you know, some of the best works of fiction, you know, can be written in the 50s, but they feel like they could have been written right now. That's when you know you're onto a winner. But with this, I read it and I was like, this does feel like a piece of mid-90s fantasy. What didn't I like? Absolutely everything. I'm not going to do loads of jump cuts. I'm just going to rant and ramble at you right now. I thought this was rubbish. I thought it was absolutely awful. I was bored out of my mind. Absolutely bored. I did not like any of the characters. I hated them all. Proper hated them. And I hated Fitz especially. Now, if you take your mind back to the beginning of this review when I said, please let me know in the comments whether Fitz is a key character throughout this whole entire series of books based in this world, or whether it's just this trilogy. Because here's the thing, this is what's going to happen. I'm not going to continue this Farseer trilogy. I cannot stand to spend another minute with the dull, boring, utterly lifeless, bland Fitz. I was just pulling my hair out. My God. Awful, absolutely awful. Hated all the other characters, and also, like, there was nothing dramatic or engaging about the kind of like political intrigue that's happening. Like, I'm all for a novel that's like, let's not look too much on the action or the fantasy, let's look right into the kind of like the backstabbing and the politics taking place and really look at the kind of core intrigue in that sense. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, but all of it was boring. It was so boring. Like, there was no plot beats. I couldn't really, like, can I even mention anything that happened? Because it all just went, yeah. So, again, I liked nothing in this novel that you should in a fantasy novel. I found its plot, what it decided to focus on, incredibly boring. I found all of its characters incredibly boring. I thought I was going to really enjoy the guy who teaches him to be an assassin. I would say if I was going to pick a character that I liked out of all the characters the most, it's the guy training him up to be an assassin who I probably liked the most. But even at times I was a bit like, oof. But all his interactions with Fitz, and Fitz is so dull, it just made those scenes dull. So, yeah, awful. Really, really not for me. So there you go. Overall, I hated this one. I'm going to give it 0.5 star? 0.51 star? It probably gets 1 star because I liked what it was trying for. It was trying for something that was character-driven fantasy, which I think in the 90s, even though it felt like it was written in the 90s, I don't feel like normally in the 90s fantasy was, I think, a lot more action-based, a lot more action-packed. So I think Robin Hobb was doing something quite original at that time by making it character-driven. It's just you've got to have likeable characters for that to work. Yeah. No, I don't know why I'm being... It's like 0.5 stars out of 5. It's one of the worst books I've read this year. Really terrible. And I will not be continuing this trilogy. I will not. However, if one of the later trilogies... Because she does it all in trilogies, right? I haven't done my homework. But if one of the later trilogies doesn't involve Fitz, but I've now got an into the world, because obviously I've read this first book, so I understand the world a bit now, then I will happily maybe try a different one. What is the one I should go for? That's a good question to you. I'm on YouTube. I should use you as the hive mind of excellence in fantasy. So yeah, what should I look out for trilogy-wise? But if you do come back at me and say they all involve Fitz, then I will not be reading another Robin Hobb novel. I can't. I just will not. I will not. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're well and you're enjoying whatever you might be reading. Have you read The Assassin's Apprentice? And if so, what did you think about it? Did you love it or did you hate it as much as I did? Please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'll see you all on the next one.